Everything's good. Okay, cool. I'm gonna make some ghee today, and I got some butter and a bunch of little tools.
Little tools?
Yes. So
what tools have you got?
Yeah, so I got like a water jug. I'm gonna filter the ghee here first before I pour them into my mason jar. Got like a saucepan, and I have a little skimmer to take away the foams. And I'll chop up the butter first. What else? I have like coffee maker, coffee filter. That's about it. Easy peasy, right? But you're making something a lot more complicated.
Yeah, I guess we should probably talk about what ghee actually is first.
Okay.
So ghee is it's basically butter that you cook until it slightly caramelizes. The milk solids fall to the bottom of the pot, and then you retain the liquid part of it, and it's used as a cooking medium.
Right. So it's clarified butter.
It's slightly different to clarified butter because the process for clarifying butter uses evaporation, whereas to make ghee you cook the butter.
Interesting. I thought these two terms are interchangeable.
Nope, absolutely not.
Okay. And I also know that some people will cook the butter until it caramelizes. Some people don't. I think I prefer to caramelize a little bit in the bottom. This way it tastes better, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the benefits of ghee, is that it actually has quite a distinct flavour. It's what makes it particularly popular with Indian cooks. In fact, in some parts of India, it's the primary cooking medium. So more than like olive oil or vegetable oil or whatever, they use ghee instead. And because you've separated the milk solids from it, it gives it a very high smoke point, so you can cook at much higher temperatures.
I'm making a very simple ghee with just butter. What are you cooking in yours?
So because I've already got some ghee, I'm going to do this is an Ethiopian style of ghee called Niter Kibbeh. And if you've ever eaten from like an Ethiopian restaurant, you'll probably recognise the flavour of this, because it's in pretty much every dish that they make. It's essentially exactly the same process as making plain ghee, except you put spices, onions, garlic, and ginger in with the butter as you cook it. So I'm using a mixture of bay leaves, turmeric, ginger, onions, garlic, curry leaves, red chilies, fenugreek. You always have to use fenugreek seeds, cloves, and black cardamom.
Do you think you can point the camera to your spices so we can see what they are?
I can try.
Oh, nice.
So here I've got
Which is what? Okay,
big Indian bay leaves. I'm using fresh turmeric, because if you use powdered turmeric, it can cloudy up the ghee. Got curry leaves here, ginger, and you're just going to have to trust me that there's onions and cloves and black cardamom under there.
Why are you using black cardamom, not green cardamom?
Because that's what they use in Ethiopia. Because black cardamom has a very different flavour than green cardamom. Black cardamom's got like a very smoky, camphorous flavour. Much stronger than green cardamom.
Okay. I also know that you are going to be cooking your ghee butter a lot longer. You said 90 minutes?
Yeah, it's just to make sure that you get the maximum flavour out of the ingredients that I'm putting in there. So, for example, you want the onions to be nicely golden to get the maximum flavour out of them. Right. And that's just how long it'll take, because obviously, just to not burn the ghee, you want to make sure you cook it at a very, very, very low simmer. So it'll take quite a long time for the onions and the ginger and the garlic to cook properly and make sure that they're not bitter.
Yeah, so don't you think there's going to be concern of burning, like completely burning the onion? Because think about it, we're basically deep frying all the herbs and aromatics like, in like hot oil. That's basically what's happening there.
It's true, but remember that the butter isn't going to. The frying temperature of butter not as high as the frying temperature of oil. So and because we're only doing it at a very, very, very low simmer, it's actually going to cook quite gently. So I don't think there's going to be any risk of this burning.
Yeah, I know we made it last time. Yours turned out really well. I'm not really concerned.
I don't think you've got anything to worry about.
And what do you use yours for?
Use it for a lot of things. So you can use it as a cooking medium. So you can basically use it to, for example, fry your eggs. And it's actually very nice like that. You can use it to as a kind of a seasoning. So after you finish cooking a meal, like a stew or a curry or whatever, or even rice especially, you can add like a dollop of the Niter Kibbeh to that at the end to give it a nice hit of flavour.
Yes. So of course, the Niter Kibbeh is more limited in their use. Mostly only when you make Ethiopian food, right?
Yeah, but of course you can be creative with the spices. So like obviously because I cook Ethiopian food sometimes, although I find this spice mix quite versatile anyway. But you can be creative with what you make it with. You could make this with any spices that you like. For example, one of my favourite spices is curry leaves, which is not traditional in Ethiopia, but in this mixture I'm putting curry leaves in just because I enjoy the flavour. But you could put anything in there.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So I'm making a very basic plain ghee. This is so much more versatile, right? When using cooking, I use ghee quite a bit because like it goes with basically anything.
Yeah.
So especially for my blog, uh, I use ghee when especially for recipes when people who have allergies to dairy. So ghee is considered dairy free, and a lot of my readers, I guess they have like allergy issues, food sensitivity. If they follow a diet that's like paleo, dairy free, whole 30, things like that, you will want to, or they will want to, right? Like avoid any dairy product.
Yeah.
So like of course cheese and milk, they're like a no-go for sure. Butter is it's an interesting cooking fat. It's actually really healthy. It's full of high in vitamin A, I believe. It's a healthy fat. Um, it's like, but when we cook, when we separate the milk solid from like when the butter clarified, right? Like when you see the ghee come on top, that portion is dairy free. So
Yeah.
from that sense, it's very popular for a lot of the dieters and the people who cannot eat dairy and still can enjoy the same similar taste. Well, actually, I think better.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, okay, yeah, it's got all those benefits that you've just mentioned, for people who can't tolerate dairy. But at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, the best benefit of all is that it just tastes great.
Right. Well, you are all about tasting great.
Exactly.
I'm all about taking care of people who have issues and supporting them on their own healing journey. everything. So so again, I'm gonna put my basic ghee recipe on my blog. So and I'm gonna put a link under the video if people are watching on YouTube. Yeah, so mine is completely cooked already. So once it start boiling, it takes about 20 minutes, I think. Right?
Yeah, you basically just wait until the milk solids have all fallen to the bottom, and that the actual butter itself has gone a slightly darker golden color, and then you're good to go.
Right. Okay, so another benefit I was thinking that what the ghee is good for is also when we even like stir fry or like lightly pan fried food, ghee's got higher smoking point, right?
Yes.
So that's another benefit.
Yeah, exactly. So you can use it. It's like, it would be a bit like using extra virgin olive oil, you know, to do a stir frying. It just wouldn't work because the oil breaks down before it gets hot enough.
Mm-hmm.
Butter would burn even quicker if you were to try and cook at temperatures as high as that. So, but with ghee you don't have that issue.
That's true. Yeah, and they're delicious. So good.
Yeah. It's got a delicious taste, it's got a delicious smell, and if you're making the sort of neutral ghee, the basic ghee like you're making, there's nothing to say that you can't flavour the ghee at some point during a recipe that you're making. So, for example, in India, it's quite common to make what they call a tarka, which is usually something that they do at the end of a cooking process. So what you'll do is you'll heat ghee up until it becomes really hot, and then you'll add a load of spices in, fry them to extract the flavour, and then you pour that over the dish at the end to give it a hit of flavour.
Nice. That sounds amazing.
It really is.
I'm gonna grab a bowl and start taking out the foams in a bit.
Yeah, you'll have to bear with me. I'm using quite a bit more butter than you're using, so it's going to take a bit longer to melt and come up to temperature.
Okay. Do you want to let us take a look at your pot, or?
If you like, it's not very interesting just now.
But I think I do want to see it when you have you added all your spice yet?
Not yet. I'll let because the butter's still in chunks just now. I'll let that melt first, and then.
Okay. Okay. Can you point the pot, like make the pot in the middle of the camera? I don't want to.
When I don't drop the camera, my setup's not ideal here. How's that?
Nice.
Can you see?
Yeah, I can see. Now I'm gonna set a timer. Let's see. Let's see how it turned out. Last time when I made ghee, I did not caramelize all the milk solid in the bottom. So I had quite a bit of just like the milk, kind of like the dairy portion of the butter, right, left over. I didn't want to throw them away. So I just like used them in popcorns.
Oh, that's a good idea. I bet that was amazing.
That was really good. It was really good.
I wish I'd thought of that.
Uh-huh. And of course, my kids were happy.
Yeah, I bet.
So that's why I remember to buy popcorns this time, because I know I may end up with some the byproduct.
Yeah, quite right.
Right. And let's see how it goes. Like, do you think he'll caramelize the milk portion enough? that I have nothing left.
Sorry, do I think?
Do you think like the dairy portion of the butter will be like entirely caramelized and then I have nothing left?
No, I don't think so. You'll know yourself. You'll look at it, and once it goes just lightly golden, that's it, done.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's starting to melt quite nicely. So I'm going to add my spices in now. I was feeling a bit flush, so I put some saffron in here as well, just to make it a bit more decadent. Oh, and some fresh thyme.
That's the expensive part of the herbs that you got there.
It is, but again, this stuff, you use it quite sparingly, and because I've used quite a lot of butter, this is going to last me a long time, I think.
Right. Did you run out your last batch already?
The last batch of Niter Kibbeh, yes.
Yeah.
The thing is, when I have it, I do use it quite a lot. As I say, like if I have Niter Kibbeh, if I'm frying eggs for my breakfast, that's what I'll use for it.
Right.
Again, you know, if I'm cooking any dish that uses rice, I'll tend to put some of the Niter Kibbeh through the rice as well.
That must be really tasty. You got like, you know, the fat and the aromatics.
Yeah, no, I'm completely addicted to it. It's what I give my my older brother for his birthday and his Christmas. Most years, this is what he asks me for, if I can make him some of this.
Cool. Yeah, always learn something from you.
Every day is a school day.
Yep. Okay, so I have a question for you. Is it really necessary to skim the foam? Not really, right? If I don't, they will just sink into the bottom eventually, wouldn't they?
Not necessarily. I mean, you maybe don't need to do it quite as often as you're doing it. I mean, I would probably tend to skim mine towards the end. It just makes it a little bit easier to.
True.
It makes it a little bit easier to filter.
I agree with you. I'm just bored.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if my chat's not stimulating enough for you, Yang.
That's not my point. It's a long boiling process. Remember, have to cook the butter for about 20 minutes. I'm keeping myself busy.
Hey, you've only got 20 minutes. I've got about an hour and a half to go.
Oh. I'll take a nap after mine's done and come back to later.
It's funny because apart from the Ethiopian Niter Kibbeh, I haven't really found very many references to anybody else who actually makes ghee like this.
Anybody else? You mean anybody else outside Ethiopia or?
Yeah, so like Niter Kibbeh in Ethiopia it's like one of the main characteristics of their cooking is
Right.
Niter Kibbeh.
Yeah.
Like if there's no Niter Kibbeh, it's not properly Ethiopian. But I haven't found anywhere else, any other countries that use ghee, as a cooking medium. India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, places like that. I haven't found anywhere else where they actually have a flavored ghee.
Right.
I'm sure people do it, but it's not. It doesn't seem to be a thing anywhere else other than Ethiopia and possibly Eritrea.
Interesting. Okay, so since we're on the topic of Ethiopian food, I'm just gonna promote a little bit that we made injera together. That's an Ethiopian fermented flat bread, like sourdough. So that's on my blog, yangsnourishingkitchen.com. You can just search. There's a search bar and can search for injera, and we made it together, right? Even
Yeah.
it's really good. So, and aside from the promotion, the self promotion, so you were talking about nobody outside Ethiopia make like flavored ghee. How about in India? I'm just wondering. My in-laws are Indian, right? I don't think they do that, but maybe it's
No.
just that particular family. But do you know?
No, it's. I mean, I've done a lot of research on this, and as far as I can see, the only place that I've ever found that uses a flavoured ghee as an ingredient, as in the flavoured ghee exists before you actually start cooking, is Ethiopia, and I think Eritrea as well, that borders Ethiopia. But as I say, in India, what they tend to do is use a plain ghee, and then towards the end of the cooking, they'll fry spices in it, and then use that to add a flavour at the end. But I'm sure people do it. I'm sure people do make flavoured ghees, but it doesn't seem to be a part of any other cuisine that I've ever found anyway.
I think it has something to do with maybe like how versatile and in terms of the variety of the dishes and the combinations of the spices. Like once you make into something like Niter Kibbeh, you just basically have to use the same flavor combo all the time, right? The the beauty of frying whatever spice you have, you can like alter it from dish to dish. So like even we talked about that before, even in Chinese cooking, um, like we will fry citron peppers and chilies and whatever aromatics in oils, and sometimes even like finish on top of the dishes. But like that's still like the same idea you just talked about, like what people did in India. We're frying it at the time we're cooking the dish.
Yeah, absolutely. It does technically give you more options, although
Yeah.
I know that people in Ethiopia make their own Niter Kibbeh. So I don't believe that every family that makes it to exactly the same recipe. I'll bet that everybody's got their own preference. In fact, I'll bet that people even have different kinds for different dishes that they make based on personal preference.
True. Okay, I think we're over analyzing here. No, yes.
There's no such thing as over analyzing. Okay, so mine's started to boil now, and it smells absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
The strongest flavour that I smell is the curry leaves.
You know, do you use dry curry leaves or do you use fresh curry leaves?
I use fresh curry leaves.
Do people usually use fresh curry leaves or can dried be interchangeable with the fresh?
Ethiopia, as far as I'm aware, people don't use. As far as I'm aware, people don't use curry leaves in Ethiopia, but in Indian cooking, it's fresh curry leaves that you use for pretty much everything. Dried curry leaves are more common here in Scotland, just because they don't grow here. Right. But I have a good Indian supermarket close by that I can get fresh curry leaves from.
Nice. Well, I thought you were going to tell me you grow curry leaves yourself.
No, I don't think they'd enjoy the climate here.
You know, I saw curry leaves in the grocery store about a couple of weeks ago, and I remember how much you raved about it. And you did say if I come across curry leaves, I should definitely buy some. I did not, but I'm planning to.
Oh my God.
I'm feeling so guilty, therefore I didn't even tell you.
Honestly, it's a thing. I think it would be a difficult thing for most people to answer, but if you asked anybody, what is your favourite spice? Okay, now normally you'd have to put that into context because, is it a dessert? Is it a main course? Blah, blah, blah. But if you asked me that, I would say my favourite spice is curry leaves, definitely. I cannot get enough of that flavour.
So now you convinced me. I'm going back to get that curry leaves.
Yes, yes, you are. And you're going to fry the curry leaves in your ghee, and you're going to use it to flavour something.
Something. I love sumac. It's amazing. I love cumin. I think my favorite spice would be either cumin or thyme.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned you love sumac.
I love sumac.
Do you have sumac?
I do.
Okay, it's completely unrelated to the ghee, but obviously we've been talking about some kebab recipes that we're going to be doing together, and we spoke about the Iranian chicken kebab, the jujay,
Yes.
and if you have sumac, it's traditional to sprinkle sumac over the kebab before you eat it.
Oh yeah, of course. They sprinkle sumac on everything, don't they?
Certainly on kebabs, yes, and they
Yeah.
use it a lot in cooking, yeah.
So absolutely, that's one reason I'm totally down to make Iranian kebabs because you have quite a bit of sumac I can use up.
I don't know how well it's showing up on my camera here because the lighting in here is not particularly good, but because of the saffron and the fresh turmeric in there, it's a really, really nice yellow colour.
Yeah. It's beautiful. What are those really long red thing? Are they whole dried chili peppers?
Yes, they are, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to like recount what you put in there? All the spices?
Yep. So there's big Indian bay leaves, there's fresh thyme, there's the dried red chilies, lots of chopped onions, garlic and ginger, and fenugreek seeds. I think if there was one spice that Niter Kibbeh had to have to be authentic, it would be fenugreek seeds. Aside from that, I've got some cloves, I've got cumin seeds, coriander seeds, nice smoky black cardamom, fresh turmeric, and a pinch of saffron.
Yeah, beautiful. And you know what? Like, if it's not watching, if it's not because I've seen you making this, like I would be so surprised that we can even fry onions and like ginger for 90 minutes. You know, like I would have thought, like even
Yeah, I mean,
time, right? I would have thought like they will completely turn into black powder, dust, ashes, whatever you call it.
yeah, but then you have to bear in mind that especially during the very first part of cooking this, that there's a lot of water content in the butter. So and remember, when there's water in there, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So at the moment, the temperature in there can't really rise much above 100 degrees Celsius. The temperature only increases. The temperature increases as the water evaporates. So at the moment, I'm not frying. It's technically I'm not frying the ingredients. I'm boiling them. It's only towards the end of the process, once most of the water's been evaporated, that the stuff will start to fry and the ingredients will brown.
That's cool. And you see the science is so fascinating.
Yeah. And the thing is, you can hear it as well. Like boiling sounds a lot different to frying. You know, when you boil something, it makes a bubbly sound, which I could hear just now. But when you fry something, it starts to sizzle.
Absolutely.
So at the moment, I don't need to watch this. You know, I'm not concerned about this just now because it's. But when those bubbles start to become much smaller and they start to make a sizzling sound, then I need to say, okay, I need to watch this now every couple of minutes to make sure that stuff's not getting a little bit too brown. But I have to tell you, my kitchen smells absolutely amazing just now.
I can imagine that. Like just the sound, all the amazing, spice and herbs you put in there. It cannot be smelling anything less than amazing.
Oh, absolutely. It's making me hungry, and I've just had my dinner as well.
So, are you gonna eat something with another Kibbeh today?
Oh, not today. It's 9:25 at night here just now, so it's probably going to be a little bit. By the time mine's finished cooking anyway, it's going to be a bit late. But definitely tomorrow.
Nice. So there are lots of things we can cook with ghee, and let's just say the ghee that I have is going to be plain and it's going to be good for so many dishes. Do you have something to recommend? That's particular.
The thing about ghee is that the thing about ghee is that you can use it as a substitute for
Cooking oil.
Olive oil, not extra virgin, but normal olive oil, sunflower oil, rapeseed oil, whatever. You can basically use it as a substitute for that in any circumstance.
Yeah, I would say that a substitute for any cooking oil, whether you're frying, like deep frying, baking, like baking, I mean like just roasting vegetables, right? Like
Yep.
you would normally use your butter, rub it on the outside or roast beef, and you know what? I used up the last batch because we made the liver pate together, the chicken liver pate, and I used a ghee in there, so it was like a dairy-free pate recipe. So it's like it's good. It's keto, paleo, Whole30, it's all of that, and dairy-free. It's actually delicious. It's amazing. Yeah.
And given that it's summer now and people are going to start barbecuing, it's also really, really nice if you melt some ghee and then you brush it on your meats as you grill them.
Yeah. I learned that the hard way, right? Because when I grill my kebabs on the grill directly, they tend to stick. So I learned the hard way. So I usually brush with oil now first. Haven't done with ghee. It would be amazing. But again, like that's a good point. The thing about ghee is because it tends to be solid, right? Normally we will have to like heat it up, melt it first before using.
Yeah, or ghee becomes much more liquid. It doesn't need to be much more above room temperature. So if it's warm enough that you're going to be going out and barbecuing, then probably you can just leave the ghee in your kitchen, or you can leave it outside. Bear in mind, you don't need to keep ghee in the fridge at all. It doesn't need to be kept in the fridge. You can keep ghee at room temperature, and it'll be absolutely fine for months.
Right. But do you think keeping in the fridge will give it a longer shelf life, or no, or it doesn't matter?
I'm sure it probably will extend the shelf life some. I mean, if I have a jar of ghee, it's not going to last me months, because if I open the fridge and I see it, I'm going to use it. But if you think that for some reason that you might have the ghee for a year or more, then yeah, probably you want to keep it in the fridge. But keeping it outside the fridge at room temperature, I'm not concerned about it at all.
Yeah, and just in theory, right? Like after cooking this down, like the water contents all cooked out of the butter, the milk content, dairy contents cooked out, like really what's left over is just pure oil. Yeah.
Exactly, and this is the thing. What does bacteria and mold need to survive? It needs two things. It needs water and oxygen.
Yes.
And if there's no water, then these things can't thrive. So
there's like absolutely no moisture left. So I think mine is done. Yeah, mine is done.
I was just noticing, because I can see, like, I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but you can see that my pot, that it's still boiling, but I noticed that yours was definitely sizzling.
Yeah, yeah. And mine is done. Like if you see the liquid in there is clear, is golden.
Yeah.
Perfect now. I'm just gonna skim the foam and then turn off the heat.
So for anybody who's planning on trying to make this, the best way to decant the ghee into your jar is not to pour it from the pot. The best way is to use like a soup ladle and take the clarified ghee from the top. Because if you pour it from the pot, you're going to end up pouring some of the milk solids in, and then you really will reduce the shelf life of it. So you want to use a ladle, and you want to just get the clarified stuff and leave the solids on the bottom.
Right. That makes sense. I think my milk solid in the bottom, they let me see. Yeah, I think they caramelized a little bit already, so they're not like floating around, which is nice. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if I pour, I don't think I'm gonna pour any unwanted dairy bits out. But again, I'm gonna filter first before I even transfer them into the jars. The whole recipe is going to be on my blog. I'll leave the link under the video on YouTube. I think I probably would like to at least just write down all of the spices that you use for your Niter Kibbeh, in case if people want to experiment, right? Like it's a good starting point. You know, what kind of spice and herbs can be used. But again, I think that's fairly flexible, right? Like the amount of them, like of each, and even if someone's like missing one or two spices is fine.
Yeah, it's completely flexible. I mean, you can tailor it to your own preference, or if you're trying to create a specific flavor profile, then yeah, no problem. I mean, with my addition of the red chilies and the curry leaves, that's because I'm particularly fond of southern Indian flavors. Right. So that's what I've gone for, a sort of hybrid of the sort of standard Ethiopian flavor profile with the southern Indian flavor profile.
Right.
But you could do anything you want.
Yeah. And be generous with it, right? Like, look at how much you use. That's like a plate, a whole plate full of it. For how many pounds of butter? 4 pounds?
No, I used 6.
You used 6 pounds of butter?
Yeah, 6 pounds of butter, yeah.
Okay. All right, so just for reference, right? So that big plate for 6 pounds. I think it's worthwhile if you're gonna fry for 90 minutes and using all that herbs and spices.
Yeah.
You definitely make it worthwhile.
Oh, exactly. So no, you don't be shy with the ingredients. I mean, okay, 6 pounds of butter. For that, I used one whole really, really big onion. I used a piece of ginger about the size, just over a thumb-size piece of ginger in that. And then most of the spices I used probably about a teaspoon and a half. Except for the curry leaves, I used a big handful.
I'll let mine cool down a little bit. Just slightly. It's quite dark here. Can you see?
I can still see it, yeah.
This is better. A little better?
Yeah, that's better, yeah.
Yeah, that's just a coffee filter.
Yeah, you'd want to use something like a coffee filter or a jelly bag or a nut milk bag. Even if you use like a really fine sieve, it won't really be enough to stop the solids from going through.
How long do you think I should let my ghee cool down for? A few minutes?
I don't think you need to let it cool down at all, to be honest.
Really? My only concern is this glass jug. I just don't want
Okay.
to crack the glass. That's it. So
Yeah, maybe give it a couple of minutes then.
that's the only.
As long as the jug's at room temperature, let it cool down a few minutes. You should be fine.
Yeah, that's the only concern. Nothing else. So in the meanwhile, I think I'll just show what the jelly bag look like. Just one of these cloth bag. Just like that. And you know, some people use what, pillowcase?
No, that's true. People do use pillowcases. People use cloths.
Yeah. Especially traditionally, right? Like, I think that's originally what people do. Like, was filtering their food.
Yeah.
Like broth. We used it for making tofu last time.
That's true.
Okay. Still hot. Still really hot. So how long has it been? Like, how much longer do you think your ghee needs to keep?
Oh, I've got a full hour to go.
Oh, so I'm not gonna be able to see the final product, right? Do you want to just?
Maybe we can show a photograph.
Yeah. Do you want to just talk about like what you're gonna do once it's done?
Yeah, so obviously the filtration will be a wee bit different with mine because the pot's full of whole spices. So what I'll do first is I'll strain mine into another pot through a sieve, just to get rid of the whole spices, and then I'll pour it through a jelly bag.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But do you really need to skim the foams? You don't, right? Because you're just going to be pouring through the jelly bag entirely, the whole thing.
Yeah, so I'll pour it through a jelly bag into like a big jug, and then from the jug I'll pour it into some jars that I've got ready.
Yeah, but then once you pour it into the jug, you probably will need to filter one more time. You think?
No, I don't think so, because I'm gonna skim the foam before I even pour it through the sieve.
Okay.
And then rather than I'm not going to pour directly from the pot into the jug. I'm gonna take it with a soup ladle.
Mm-hmm.
make sure that I don't get any of the solids from the bottom. I say this just because there was one time, and one time only, that I got lazy and just poured it from the pot through the jelly bag, and some of the solids ended up in the jar, and after about a month, even in the fridge, it went moldy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I lift up my pot just so you can see. Mine is like so caramelized in the bottom. I don't have any solid like floating around.
Yeah.
So I caramelized mine a little more than last time. That means I don't really have any leftover for popcorn.
That's a shame. There'll be another time.
Yeah, I'm pouring because I'm just really confident that there's no milk solids coming out this time.
And look, even if you do end up getting any milk solids in there, then you can easily just filter it again. It's not a problem.
But because I'm pouring through a coffee filter, it will catch whatever I have. I'm pouring very carefully, so it's like near the end, right? I'll just show it this way. Near the end. I'm trying to get like as much out of the pot as possible. Oh, this is like so efficient. Nice. Oh, smells good. I personally really like the extra intensity from the caramelized ghee.
Yeah, I mean that's what separates ghee from clarified butter. Is that when you with clarified butter, it's a process of evaporation. So basically, you evaporate the water out of the butter, and then you separate separate the milk solids. But with ghee, a part of the process of making ghee is the caramelization.
Yeah. Exactly, that's what makes it smell so good.
And a lot of the time, it's actually added to dishes more for the aroma than for anything else.
Well, that makes sense, right? Very good to know. I think 2 of these containers would be.
So obviously, as you can see there, like your ghee is quite see-through.
Yeah.
Obviously, once my ghee's been filtered and decanted into the jars, it won't be like that because the saffron and the turmeric will make it quite dark yellow.
Okay, I'm done. This is beautiful. So each pound of butter will make about this much ghee, and I say this is close to 2 cups, right?
It looks about 2 cups, yeah.
About 2 cups. So this is, I think this is about 500 milliliter of mason jar. So it's maybe just short of 2 cups if it's not. And that's 2 pounds of butter I use. Store in room temperature.
And butter's not particularly expensive either, so it's well worth trying to make this at least once.
This is good for me for like a couple of months. No, it's not gonna last a couple of months, but all right, depends on how much I cook. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Okay,
Nice.
the link is gonna be under the video, and I can't wait to see how yours turned out. I'm sure it's gonna be wonderful.
We shall see in due course.
Okay. Any last word?
No, I don't think so. Other than I can't explain enough how amazing my kitchen smells just now. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
Okay. All right. Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is great.